All right, everybody, I'm so excited and welcome to art class. We are going to do a really fun painting today. We're going to be doing this birch painting. So I saw an example of this online. I'm not the original creator of this, but I do want to be able to take you step by step to try to do this today. And we're going to use a new special tool we have not used, or kind of more of like a painter's secret, is we're going to be using some masking tape. So this is, I have the blue kind, which is painter's tape. If you have more of like the beige kind of yellow cream kind, that'll work too. So that is going to be our little secret today, to get these nice straight lines. I'm sure if you look at this, you're like, I can't paint straight lines like that. That's okay, I didn't either. Before doing this lesson, I did ask that you go ahead and prep your canvas with white paint. So this is my canvas. If you didn't, it's okay. The reason that I asked to go ahead and prep it with white is that when we put the tape down, which is the first thing we're gonna do, is that when we put it down and we remove the tape later, anything that was covered up is not going to have much paint on it, and it's nice to go ahead and have a layer of paint on there. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and start with the tape on the canvas. So we're going to just start by taping it off. So if you'll see that I have some larger ones as well as some smaller ones. The smaller ones I created by taping it, by tearing off a piece and then like just tearing it in half and kind of seeing how that went. So it was not a real big science. There's a couple that didn't work out so well and I had to throw away. It's fine, it's just tape. So like I said, this is like 1 inch. A good way that I measure is a lot of times the first little knuckle of your finger. You can see I've already been painting. The first little knuckle of your finger is about 1 inch or so. So that helps you see that that's that. So we're going to take off some tape. We're going to have it so that it's long enough that it will kind of wrap over the top and maybe a little on the bottom to help us do that secure. So we're going to take a piece, and if you're looking and seeing, we're going to have some different angles that are not all going straight up and down. So I'm going to go for this first one right here that kind of goes a little sideways, and I'll tape it like that and rub it down right there. Okay, so that's kind of my first one. They may not be in the exact same places as my other, but we'll get it kind of close. They're the same size canvas, so that does help. Even if they look different sizes, one is, I think, a little closer to you visually. All right, I'm going to do another. So we're just doing just the solid ones. I'm going to do another one. They're kind of almost meeting at the bottom, and then this one's kind of our closest to being all the way straight. I'll do another piece right there. And I'll see I'm wrapping the ends down here on the top and on the bottom. That'll also give me a little flap to be able to pull off easier later. So that'll be handy. All right, we'll do one more. If you have a larger canvas, then, so this is an 8 by 10. If you have a larger canvas than that, then you'll be able to fit in more trees. This is just as many trees as I was able to fit in with this size canvas. So if you want to do, you know, more of these larger ones, not as many small ones. So this one, I'm going to have it where they're kind of meeting a little more at the top, but then kind of going away from each other at the bottom. So it's like I said, none of them are perfectly straight, but it'll just kind of give us some different interests. So right now I've got three of these solid ones right here. Okay, and I've got them, and I do kind of just go ahead and rub, make sure they've got good contact. And then we're going to stick in a few of these kind of smaller ones, and I'll just have to see what happens when I tear my tape about what size I'm going to be able to get to. So I'm going to kind of measure out, okay, that's about how long I'll need it. And so then what I did is I took the top and I just started ripping and just slowly started ripping kind of down the middle. Now they do actually make skinny tape, which is really cool if you can get it or you have it. I didn't feel it was worth the price to go out and get just that kind. So I said, well, I'll just tear it. Okay, let's see what this one turned out like. That one's not too bad. A tree actually is normally skinnier at the top and it can be a little wider at the bottom. So I can still kind of work with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and put this, maybe if I see a couple little spots, you can almost kind of fold in some pieces if you don't like that. See, I'm kind of making it. And I'm going to put this one going here. So I can tell that that's a little bit smaller. It is kind of, it does have a little bit of that jagged edge, but that's okay as well. That's okay for these smaller trees. And the other piece that I tore off, I think is almost too skinny. I don't know. I don't think it's quite big enough. I don't think I'm going to use this one. Yes, someone in chat just said it's going to be very satisfying to peel off. I will say that's one of my favorite parts of doing these kind of things, when you tape it off and then when you get to peel it and you get to see what it looks like. It's always super cool, especially because what we're going to do is we're going to actually paint the background over top of the paint. So it's going to look really kind of interesting. So at first it's going to look like the paint disappears. And so I'm going to take another piece out while I'm talking, and I'll try to tear this in half. Just kind of, just a little bit as I go. Just a little bit. You see, just tear, and then you just kind of grab the next part and then just tear again. Oh, or you can go like that and mess it up. Oh well, it'll be fine. It's also tape, so if it kind of tears, you can kind of just stick it together. As long as it's stuck on the canvas, it'll do its job. These little pieces are starting to stick to each other. You know what? I think that one turned into a pretzel for me. That is not going to be useful. All right, I'm going to try one more time. There we go. You know what? I wonder if my scissors would be handy. I didn't think about that. Let's see here. Maybe tape that down and then just, and some scissors. Yeah, that might work. See, sometimes we got to just figure it out and see how we can make it, work. So I will try to cut this one in half real quick. Yeah, I think scissors are winning for me more now, but okay, so I've got two more that are like half pieces. So let's see here. I will do this one. It's okay if they go over top of each other. The way we paint it will tell the story of which one's in front. So it doesn't matter for the tape wise if one's in front of the other. So I'm going to do this one kind of angled, going over top there, and then my last little skinny one will meet. Like I said, all these are kind of just meeting in different spots. None of them are completely perfectly straight up and down, but that's about where I'm going to stop. So you can see from my size canvas, I have those 3 solid ones, and then I've made 3 kind of half ones. So for me and my canvas size, I think these 6 are about the max that I can fit. Like I said, if you have a larger canvas, you could probably find that you'll be able to do more. If you want to even make even wider trees, you could probably even put 2 pieces beside each other and make a really good focal point one that's like closer, so you could do that. So I'm going to check and see if you guys have got your tape down. That's our first step. Get my tape out of the way. I don't need that one anymore. And we will get ready to move on. All right, so all of us have our tape on now, and that's really great because now we can put the tape aside and we're going to start getting out our paint. So the paint that I am going to put out is we need to go ahead and put out some blue. Go ahead and get that out. I'm going to do like a medium amount of blue because if you see, that's going to be a lot for our background. I'm also going to get out some white because if you also see our background, it's not just a solid blue. We're actually going to have it's lighter and then it gets darker as it gets towards like farther away from our source of light. So I'll need white, probably more white than blue. And then I am going to get out some yellow, the yellow of our sun, but it's not, it won't just be a straight yellow. We'll probably also use some white with that as well. So those are our three colors that we need right now. Just the blue, yellow, and the white for the background. And then now I'm going to go ahead and grab, I've got kind of a medium flat brush. I like this flat brush. If you want to, if again you have a larger canvas, you're covering more surface, a larger brush will do fine. For me, this is a good one for the size of my canvas. I could go larger, I just might not have as much control that I would like. So I always make sure we do not start painting with a wet brush. We always make sure that it is nice and damp. So we stick that in the water and we drag off the extra, making sure that it's nice and damp, but not drippy wet. So, all right, so the first thing that we're gonna look at is we're gonna be putting in that sun. And what's really interesting is now we have to pretend kind of like the tape isn't here almost. We're gonna be painting, but we're gonna be painting knowing that when we peel off the tape, that it will peel off whatever is painting over top of it. So for the sun, that's one of the reasons I wanted to kind of give myself almost a little window right here so that the sun can peek through. I made mine, I guess I did a little smaller this time than on my example. That's okay, we're gonna work it. I'm gonna do my sunlight and it's gonna be concentrated right here in this area. So I really want to see that light yellow. So I'm gonna take some yellow first, and I'm gonna come over here to my white. So I've got white and yellow on my brush, and I'm going to just do a circle. And here's the crazy thing. Yes, you can paint over top of the tape, but just know that anything that's on top of the tape is not gonna be seen. But in my mind, look, there's my circle of my sun, right? There's the circle of my sun, but when I take off the tape, I won't see part of that. So I'm going to just, I'm grabbing some more white. I wanted to lighten it up. It got a little too yellow. This is kind of more of like I know it seems kind of silly that I'm working so hard to make a good circle, even though it's on the tape. It's one of those things where if I know that I'm making the right form, then I can follow it around. Make sure your tape does stay down. That one of mine was just trying to. I can follow it around and look, I'm gonna let a little bit of sunlight peek out right here on that side. So I'm gonna do this nice circle, nice circle of yellow, kind of this light yellow. This is where our light is coming from in our painting. And I'm gonna rinse out my brush, rinse. And then we're gonna get started with our blue. I want to start with my lightest blue that's around the sun. And the reason it's light blue is because of the light source of the sun right there. So I will, this time I'm gonna grab just a little bit of blue blue is a very, very, very strong pigment. We don't need very much. I'm gonna come over here to my white and I'm gonna grab some white. So I've got, so you can see I've got like, it looks mainly like white, but I know there's blue up underneath there. And now I'm going to go around, even though it's on the tape, I know it's on the tape, but I'm gonna keep painting. I'm gonna go around the circle, all the way around it. And even go a little over top right there because I'm gonna grab some more of that light blue and just go all the way around, making sure that I'm painting everything. I mean, I don't have to paint that blue part right there, but making sure I'm painting anything that's white, that's the white canvas, right? So I'm gonna grab some more blue, grab some more white, and then just keep kind of going around. Everything's going to kind of radiate around and go in circle around that sun. And I'm just going to keep doing bigger. Again, sometimes as I get to a piece of tape, just making sure that that's staying down, stay down. All right, so now as I'm getting a little farther away, I'm going to grab some more of that blue and start bringing in a darker blue. You see how the blue has changed just because I grabbed a little bit more, but I'm not solid blue yet. I'm gonna grab blue, grab a little white, and just go right back to, like I said, sometimes I don't spend all the time mixing on the plate. We're not painting our plate. We want to paint the canvas. So as you can see, we went this lighter blue and now it's getting a little bit darker. A little bit darker. So grab blue, grab white. This is what my brush looks like, where I kind of have the colors right there, and then I just start mixing. And so just going, making sure that I'm really kind of covering up to the edge of that tape. Right? Sometimes you can even kind of do like this little bit of it's called a scrumble. It's kind of that's a fun word, where you take the brush and you kind of go back and forth and kind of really make sure it gets in on that edge. We kind of scrumble the brush to really make sure, because this is our background. I'm going to make sure that we don't have any of those little white dots where it gets too dry. See where it gets all kind of blotchy right there? We want to make sure it's really nicely filled in. All right, so we're going to still keep grabbing blue and white and just keep going. Just keep going. As we're getting farther out, I'm going to start making that get darker and darker if you want. It's not going to be too dark because it is still a sunshiny day. We're not going nighttime blue. But so I'm really making sure I'm paying attention to the canvas part, right? The part in between the tape. The fact that we're painting over top of the tape doesn't hurt it. Like one of the students said, that's actually kind of one of the satisfying parts of this painting is when you reveal it and we've painted over this tape and suddenly now it's like, disappears. So just getting in between. Now I'm really, I am just grabbing some straight blue at this point, all the way down here at this bottom part of the canvas. Any of these little pieces are sticking out. This nice blue. This blue is almost the same color as my tape, honestly. So that looks kind of neat. Again, just kind of making sure that it's all the way covered. This is also the opportunity where if you'd like to, you can go ahead and paint the edge of your canvas as well, matching it to the background color. If you really want to get fancy, you could try to keep it at the same shade variance that we've done. So maybe this bottom part's darker, and as you get up here, you grab some of your lighter blue and you make sure that this top part is lighter. See? So you can kind of do that. So maybe the top is a light blue, but the bottom is the dark blue. That looks kind of neat, where it's almost like, it's like you took the picture and you just bent it around. So that's always fun. There we go. Oh, my tape is trying to make my canvas stick. Oh, and look, I just saw this. I would find that out later. Look at that tiny little sliver of canvas beside that tape. I almost missed that. Oh, I'm glad I turned my canvas. Make sure and turn your canvas. Make sure you're seeing all those different angles, because once we take off the tape, it'll be a lot harder to put it back on and try and fix that. So I almost missed that tiny little sliver of canvas that was still showing. So I'm glad I caught it. Hopefully you guys catch yours. Catch it. Because, I mean, if you miss that, it's not a big deal. We could probably find a way to just paint in some more. Widen a tree real fast. That's fine. But it's also nice when you catch it. All right, I am going to rinse my brush really well. Again, that blue is such a strong pigment. It will also try to stay in my brush longer. It will try to stay in my brush really long. So taking that, I will wipe it on my rag, and I can see, look, as I wipe it, I'm actually seeing blue is still left in my brush. So I'm gonna go back and rinse some more. Rinse. Awesome. Look and see any touch-ups. A little of my blue got on some of my my sun more than I wanted to, so you can go back and always kind of cover that edge back over. Again, I didn't want blue on my sun, so I'm just fixing that for myself. So it's not a big deal. You can add even a little touch more of white to the center of your sun if you want to make it lighter, kind of stand out. Okay, so we are going to let you catch up on this part. All right, now it looks like almost like underwater, like under the sea or something. I don't know, my brain's still trying to make sense of all these blue lines in here, right? Our brain always is trying to figure out what the story is, but the story's not done yet. So you just have to see. Especially because right now, this is a great thing. So in art, there's always perspective, right? Perspective. Right now, our perspective is that our sun is in the foreground. Foreground means in the front. As soon as we take off the tape, what's fun is that the sun will now fall into the background more, and it will not be in the front anymore. It'll now be behind everything. So that's almost kind of the magic that happens when we get to take off this tape. All right, I'm gonna check in on everyone and then we'll come right back for our next directions. All right, so we have finished with the background and we get to do my favorite part of this painting. If it's still a little wet, that is actually okay. Sometimes waiting until it's completely dry to take off the tape will sometimes like tear the paint off the canvas. So actually doing it when it's still a little moist is fine and more preferred. So remember how I said we need those little flaps at the top of the tape? That is so that we can start to grab. Now I will say go ahead and, because they're crisscrossed over, basically all this tape is together, like they're all kind of attached a little bit. So go ahead and loosen all of the tops of your tape at the same time, right? So I want you to be able to grab a hold of them and then pull. Now if there's a part where it, oh, see, this one's crossed over that one, I need to do that together, all right. So if it got a little under your tape, that is okay. We still have paint to fix things like that. But look at that. Oh, it's caught on the bottom. There we go. Yay. All right, so showing you mine right here. Oh. Like I've got a little spot right there, you know, a couple places. I can always go back in even just with some white and fix that. Set your tape aside. And look, our sun went into the background now. It's no longer in the forefront of our canvas. That's really cool. So that's one of the other reasons why it was really important to make sure that we placed the sun on an area that was going to be canvas, so that when we remove the tape, you see I took a big chunk out of my sun, right, that we can still see it. Okay, so that is really cool. Yeah, other than I had that one big blob. It's a little jagged on some spots, but you know what, this is also a tree. It's not supposed to look exactly straight. And we're going to be adding a lot more details than just these white lines. Remember again, the reason that I had you paint up underneath is that this canvas already has now a layer of paint. We're not going to be painting all over the tree. We're going to leave some of it white. If we had left that as just bare canvas, that can actually, it doesn't seal the canvas very well, and dust and other things can kind of get attracted to bare canvas more easily than on paint. So this gave it a nice good coat to kind of seal it up and be ready. So we're not painting a white tree, we're revealing a white tree that we will get to put the, I don't know, it's like, I think the birch has these bark, it's the bark where it looks like it's peeling off and stuff. That's the kind of tree this is. So the next thing we need to do is that we are going to get out some black. We're going to get some black paint out. And we're going to go ahead and just start working on that bark. I've put a lot of paint out, and I was a little excited when I squared out my paint. I need to get better and not be so wasteful, but that's okay. It's okay. Maybe I'll try to use another painting or do that on another painting right after I'm done with this. You never know. All right, so I still want to use my flat brush. If you were doing a very large brush for the background, I would recommend switching more to a medium flat brush. Again, this is going to give you a little more control. And one of the things that we're going to use this flat brush for is that we'll be able to get right up to the edge of a tree, put our brush down flat, and then be able to pull a little bit of the color in one direction. If you look on the example, so you'll see how we'll line up the brush right here at the edge, right? And then we'll pull a little bit of black. It won't go all the way. It won't cover the whole thing. It goes about halfway, maybe a little less. So we're going to grab the flat brush right here. I'm going to grab some black paint. Now I want to say I'm not going to grab a ton of black paint. If you see, it's not very, I'm not grabbing a big scoop. We don't want it super, it's mainly just a light layer of paint on my brush because I want to be light with this. So we're going to work from kind of this, the left side. We're gonna say the left side of each tree is gonna have this bark. So I will, let's see here, move you guys up closer. Here we go. And I'm gonna set my brush right down on the edge, on this left edge, like touch it, and then just kind of pull across. You see how I actually let it get streaky. I actually want it to be streaky. I don't want it to be completely solid. That's going to give more of that look for the bark. See as I'm going down? See that? And they're not going to end all at the same place. It's one of the reasons why we don't need to grab up too much paint. You may need to get and touch and get a little more paint as you go. But we're just going to just brush, we're going to keep it going straight. So it's not going to diagonal down at all. It's going to just start at the edge and brush across. And there's going to be some that will be longer. You see that? Some that are longer, some that are shorter. All the way. Now I'm working around this little wet spot that I've got on mine, kind of like Caden, and that's fine. We'll just leave that alone. We can always go back and fix stuff, but it's a lot harder when it's wet. So you can see I'm just going down the whole side of the tree. You see how I went a little farther here and then I went a little less here? That's just, there we go, all the way down. Streak, 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 streak. Right, like that. Now, I didn't go all the way here because here's the interesting thing. This is where the tree is crossing over. So I need to decide which tree is in front. Which tree do I want to be in the front? Is the big tree going to be in the front? If the big tree is in the front, then I'm going to see the kind of the smoky bark on that, and it will cover up some of my other tree. If I have the little tree in front, then it's going to cover up some of the big tree. So I have to make that choice. I think in my example, I use the big tree up front. So I'm going to kind of pretend, see where that line is for the tree's edge. See, there's that big tree edge right here, right? There's the big tree edge. I'm going to keep it going all the way across. You see now all of a sudden it looks like that tree is in front. I can go ahead and fill out the rest of my little tree here, but it won't go all the way because it's covered up by that big tree. So we're going to go through, this is the same little motion all the way across on each tree as we go. So there'll be some that'll be bigger, some that'll be kind of small, and then you'll suddenly get a bigger one. And just keep going all the way down the tree. I'm just kind of going across. There we go. All right, as you see now this one, this big one is still going, it's going in front of this smaller tree. So we're going to tell that story here too. So I'm going to pretend, right, that this tree, I know where that line is. I've kind of made that line with the bark. And it's crossing in front of the skinnier little tree behind it. Right. See, there we go. Isn't that amazing? So now that's brought, we've talked about the forefront and the background. That tree has now been brought to the forefront because I had all of its details seen, whereas some of these now on this tree are going to be hidden. Okay, same for this part. I'm going to do this. Maybe try to do like a little half one. That'll be tough. Just a little bit right there, but you don't see as much of that one because the big trees in front. I've got this tree that crosses in front of my son right there. So now our trees definitely start to have more interest. Okay, I've got another part that's crossing down here. Maybe I won't start until it's like right there. So we're just going, again, if you make sure that you're not grabbing too much paint at one time, and then you're just doing a light pressure, start at that edge and then just kind of pull it across. That is that look. It's kind of this little bark look. I went a little darker when I was doing my example, and I kind of wished after I did it that I'd done a little bit lighter. But there's still ways to fix things. There's no mistakes. If you go, oh no, I did too much, that's fine. We know how to bring white back out, and we can just go over top of that. Like, it's fine. These skinnier ones do take, like, you don't have to streak it as much. Like, it's just a small little motion. Kind of do that. The larger ones gives us more room for our brush. But this nice edge. So yeah, just going across all of our trees. I guess if you had a much larger canvas, oh my goodness, you would be sitting here doing trees for a few days, I feel like. But it would be worth it. At the end, it would look so neat. These are such a neat looking tree. And to try to recreate that with paint is kind of a fun thing. See, I kind of decided to do some bigger spots right there. That's kind of neat. There we go. Right, grabbing, yeah, I can grab more paint when I'm doing these wider trees. It'll help spread it out a little more. There we go. And I think I've got one more tree. Where are you? Which tree are you on right now? Are we doing good? We breathing? Because like I said, it's not really messing up. You can't mess this up. We can go, oh no, I went all the way across. Oh, that's fine. We still have the shape of our tree. That's the great thing. That tape gave us such a little guideline. We're not, could you imagine trying to like paint in those straight lines? Oh my goodness. I would not want to do that. This is so much easier. So much easier. I'm getting a little darker on this one. Well, that's okay. Maybe he just has some very strong bark. I'm also trying to finish to make sure that I can answer questions or see where you are in your painting. Some darker spots are kind of nice, gives it some anchor, gives it some shadow. If you want to go in, you can even kind of do little wiggle lines like this. I take my brush and I'm doing it more like parallel with the bottom of the canvas, and I can wiggle like this, and I wiggle kind of some of these extra little lines in there. See that? You see how I added like some of these lines? Those are like those the lines that you see when it's like a section of this bark is peeling off. So I can kind of wiggle. My brush is a little wide for some of those smaller trees. I might not be able to do it over there. If I do, just have to be very careful. You see those little wiggle lines? Those are kind of neat. Here we go. So that's just a little added detail if you want to do that. Then starting to look more like a forest. Look at that. It's amazing. All we did is add one color. And we're actually going to go back and add a small little highlight of some white over top of the bark, which will just kind of make that pop. We'll do the highlight of some bark and then a couple branches and leaves, and we will be done. We will be done. So I'm rinsing out my brush to get that black, rinsing really well, because if I'm going to switch to white, that could really kind of mess up the paint if I still have some pigment left in the brush. All right, I'm gonna check in. So the next little thing that we can do is we can actually go back in with some white and add some highlights, as well as even some white little lines. So we're kind of just adding this another layer of color. My brush is dried out a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that that's nice and moist, and I'm gonna come and I'm getting just a tiny little bit of paint. I'm not really loading up a lot. I wanna be able to almost do like a little dusting of white. If you look at our example, you'll see it's just kind of touching on a few spots, right? So maybe I'm gonna go for the spots that really have kind of some bigger, darker areas, and I'm going to do kind of that same motion I did, but it's just a little highlight of white. Do you see that? So I can still see some black right there, right? I'm just gonna maybe go along and kind of touch some spots, touch some of those darker spots, and just bring a little more of a highlight back to it, but I'm not really covering. See how it's just a dusting? It's just a little bit. So I'm gonna go along and just add like some little bits of highlight. And like I said, I can also go back like we did with some of those black lines, is now I can even kind of wiggle in some white, some of those little white detail lines. See, like this, let's see here. I'll go wiggle, 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 wiggle. I'll get one right there. Maybe I'll get another one right there. Maybe I'll drag a little highlight right there. So this is, again, you're gonna look and see where your little parts are on your tree, but it looks kind of funny up close, right? It looks like, what are those weird things? So you back up, it starts to kind of blend in again together. And those little lines that we were adding, that kind of helps. Now, if you're like, oh no, I completely covered up my whole black area, you can always go back and add again. But that's one of the reasons why I said we need to just grab just a little bit of the paint on the brush, so that we're not adding too much at one time. A little bit of the white wiggle lines. There we go. I think I've done enough. I can start going too much. Oh my God, I'm gonna just wait. I'm gonna stop. All right. So that is that. And I did erase a whole section of my black right there. So I'm gonna put that back in right there. There we go. See, I can go back and fix stuff too. So it is absolutely fine. Now, if you see on my example, I think I had more white spaces in between some of my my black. If you're wanting to, you can even just kind of go and make kind of bigger sections like this. You can almost section it off. That kind of looks neat. There we go. Like I said, we can kind of fix this. If you see you got a little too crazy with the black, you add some white. If you go a little too crazy with the white, just add a little more black again. We can go back and forth probably for a while, but It is all doable, all fixable, all pretty easy actually. All right, I am going to rinse out that brush, and I'm putting this brush away. I'm putting that brush away because I'm going to be picking up our next and other brush that we will be doing, which is going to be a round brush. This is more of a medium round brush. Now we're going to be doing kind of some thinner brush strokes and very light to get some branches. If you feel like you have trouble doing very light pressure with this medium brush, and you want to, if you've got a very skinny detail brush, this might be, if you want to bring a detail brush out, that's fine. I have learned you can get the same result with a medium brush as long as you stay very, very, very gentle and stay very much on the tip. As soon as you push down on it, it will get wider. So if you have trouble with that kind of pressure, go ahead, if you have a skinnier brush, that will help you, because then even if you push down on it, it will still stay more skinny. But I'm going to still demonstrate with this medium round brush, and I will just show how if you just stay really, really light and you keep that paint right on the very tip, that becomes a very, very small line that you can do. So this is a dry brush. I want it to be a damp brush that will give me the flow that I need. We're going to go through and we're going to just add in a few little branches, and the branches is where we will rest our leaves. Branches, just like trees, they have the rule of they will, the part that's attached to the tree will be the whitest part, and then the part that's the farthest away, the tip, will be the skinniest part. So we'll probably go ahead and do a lot of stuff where we'll place the branch like at the tree and then pull away from the tree to make it nice and skinny. So we're going to do a mixture of either some black branches or some white branches, kind of depending on where it is. It's going to still give a feel of that same black and white of the tree. I think the first branch we'll do will be over our sunshine, which will have to be a black branch because it'll be easier to see. So I'm going to take, my paint is starting to dry out a little bit. It's not a liquid paint. I'm going to add a little more water actually to my brush to get my paint to be a little bit looser for me. And that way, look, I can paint more of a line. You see that line right there? That makes that easier. Sometimes if you already have more of a liquid paint, then that's fine. Mine doesn't have as much water, and I can actually water it down a little bit. So I'm going to, looking at my example right here, see this little branch right there? There it is. I'm going to do just a little branch. I'm going to set it right here. And then it's going to just wiggle, 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 kind of up. And I just kind of have a little wiggly branch, just like that. Maybe give them a little, nothing perfect. We're going to also cover that up with trees, but you do see where at the base it is, it's kind of a funny looking thing, but it's a little wider at the base and it gets skinny at the top. To get a really skinny thing, I'm putting pressure and then I'm lifting away from the canvas. So let's find some other places to put branches. So part of that, again, is going to be where you have your trees placed, but we're just going to be placing and just wiggling up just like some little branches that will be covered. So maybe I've got one there. Here, let me make sure, if you want to refer to where I'm placing them or maybe at the example, that's really what I'm doing, is I'm looking and seeing what I did before and it's giving me an idea of what I want to do again. So maybe I'm gonna wiggle this one up and it's gonna go that way. Maybe.
So if I want to put some like in my blue at the bottom, do I need to use the white?
Yeah, we're gonna kind of layer in. Yeah, let me show a white one. because the white one also kind of gives us that ashy look as well. So yeah, so then maybe I do one that's kind of lower down here, and I kind of do a little flick branch right there, right? So maybe
Okay.
I've got one. They don't all have to be just two. I don't know why mine are just going out here. I'll make a third branch there. There, it doesn't look like they're all the same. There, mine are all starting to look like just little two, you know, forks, whatever. But yeah, we can do some white. Again, my paint is a little drier, so I'm gonna add. Maybe it's just one little flick. Maybe it's just a little one. These don't have very large branches. These have like more like little twigs. The main part of a birch tree really does have just this bark, right? But maybe we'll go in and we'll add just little ones here and there. Maybe I'll add a flick one right there, right? So yeah, it's kind of a mixture of these black little lines as well as the white ones. And part of it is going to help us where we're going to want to place the leaves right after we're done with that. Also, we can even still go back with a little bit of the white kind of over top a little bit. Remember, like these are the birch, you know, I can do a little white over top of that black branch right there, because they even have some of that bark on the tree branches. There we go. Do a couple more that way. This is still not, it's not an exact replica of a birch. It's still, we're still just telling the story of it, right? We're just telling the story. So here, let me show you where I've just kind of just put a bunch of little ones. And the other thing is that when we put the leaves on, we'll even do it bigger than where the branch is. So it's more just kind of, you might just end up only seeing the very end of the branch. Might be the only place. These are just giving us little place holders of where the leaves will be.
Do we put the white over the black twigs as well?
If you want to, yes. If you feel like the branch is big enough that you could see both a little bit of black and white, like on this one, I decided to do some white and then a little black. Yeah, or some can just stay white or just stay black. I'm keeping this one more black because it's right over the sun. It's going to be more in shadow. So definitely this one I'm going to keep as black. But some of the other ones we might still see some black and white with it. I think I'm going to add one more. I see one more spot. I want to have a branch right down in here. All right. So the very last thing that we'll be doing is just adding in leaves, guys. That's it. I know we've gotten a little longer, but I think you guys have done some really awesome work. I'm super excited. I hope you're getting excited to see how this tree forest is coming together. The last thing that we'll be doing is just adding leaves. So I already still have some yellow from before. The only thing I need to do is just grab a little bit of our red. And now we've officially used all of our colors that we use. Don't need very much. I probably still put out too much. It's a good thing to keep learning. You can always put out more, but I like to be able to show you. So I've got some red here, and this is going to be a simple kind of using my medium brush, kind of just doing dots, kind of get together is what makes the leaves. So it's really going to be dots. We're going to do some red dots and then go back in with some lighter dots. But that's it. It's not about sitting there and individually shaping these. It's just gonna be using our brush to make that shape. So I'm gonna go in first with some red. I've got red on my brush. And I'm gonna find a branch and I'm gonna just start pushing. So I kind of do this push and it kind of spreads my brush bristles to kind of this rounded shape. You see that? That is how I'm making it look like leaves. You see? And so we're pretending that, see, they look like they're floating, but we're pretending that there's other branches there, right? I'm gonna go around the branches, adding some of the red. I'm gonna make sure there's room I can go back in and add some other colors as well. But you see how I'm just gonna go for each of the branches and just pushing my brush down and really kind of bouncing it. Letting it not just be the very tip, but almost turning it to the side and kind of smashing it. Letting it bounce, you see? Going back and grabbing some more paint if you're not seeing the cover well. So I'm just bouncing. There's even a couple of places we're gonna tell the story that there's branches there and there aren't even branches. We'll just have some leaves floating. Why not? It's our painting. We can say where leaves have to be, wherever we want them. Or as you're doing this, you go, man, I really wish I had something right here to hold some leaves. Then that's where you might want to add another branch, right? That's where you might want to go for some more. Or maybe even right here, maybe I'm going to say that there's a branch we can't even see. I'm going to say a branch we can't even see, but it's holding leaves, right? You can rinse, or honestly, I mean, I didn't even really need to rinse because I don't even mind it looking kind of more of an orange. I'm gonna go ahead and just start adding some yellow with the red, and then kind of going back over top and kind of adding some more dots. I think I'm gonna grab just a touch of white. Yellow is very translucent. Very, very translucent. Grab a little bit of yellow and the white. The white will make it stand out. You see there? Yeah, that's what we needed. That yellow is really tricky sometimes. It doesn't want to do it all on its own. There we go. And so I'm going back around to all the different clusters. Like I said, grabbing just a tiny bit of white with my yellow. Maybe a little of that red to make it kind of a more orangey. And then we're just going to go back over all those areas. And this is our last thing. So this is the thing that as you look at it, you'll go, maybe I want to add some more this way. I want to add some more here. Again, you're looking at your forest and how it's coming together. Right? There we go. It's starting to look really cool. And my trees. So yeah, some people would say this is more of an abstract leaf. The fact that it's just dots of color, right? It's not exact. Crossing over, this is kind of neat when you go over some of your branches, your trunks. There we go. That's the word I was thinking. So the leaves, some of them, like this branch, is crossing over in front of that tree. So we're doing a lot of work with it being in the foreground or in the background. But yay, we are done. I'm going to say we are done with this. I am so excited that you are able to join me for this, and I hope that yours turns out the way exactly that you want it to be. And you know that you can go back and fix it, that sometimes you need to let paint be where it lands and then just go with it. But I am super excited. I hope that you join me next time.